In the small neighborhood of Nkwem, on the outskirts of Bamenda, there lived a widow named Mama Cecil. She was not a tall woman, she was not a loud woman, but if you look closely at her hands, those tough, cracked, tireless hands, you would understand everything about who she was. Her husband, Emmanuel Tabi, died of a sudden illness when their only son Raymond was just 5 years old. He left behind a rented 2-room house, a broken bicycle, and a debt to the landlord that Mama Cecil spent 2 years quietly paying off. She had no family money, no connections, no one to call. What she had was a son she showed love more than her own breath, and a will that refused to bend. She woke at 4:30 every morning to sell firewood and roasted groundnuts at the roadside before the school run. By 7, she was home to braid Raymond's uniform, fry plantains for his lunch, and walk him to school herself because the road had potholes and she didn't trust anyone else to watch his feet. In the evening, she sold clothes for neighbors. Sometimes she earned enough for kerosene, sometimes she didn't, and they did homework by candlelight, Raymond reading aloud while Mama Cecil listened with her eyes closed, smiling. "You are going to be great, my son," she would say, stroking his forehead. "God did not bring you into this world to suffer like me. You will go far, very far." She meant it as a blessing. She did not know it was a prophecy that would one day break her heart. Raymond was brilliant. Every teacher said so. He won a scholarship to Yowande for secondary school, then passed his A-levels with distinctions that made the whole street dance outside their house. When he was admitted to study computer engineering at the University of Bue, Mama Cecil sold her last piece of inherited jewelry, a thin gold chain her own mother had given her on her wedding day to pay for his first semester hostel fees. She stood at the bus station the morning he left, holding his one traveling bag, adjusting his collar 3 times even though it didn't need adjusting. "Call me when you arrive," she said. "Every day, call me." "Every day, Mama," he promised. He boarded the bus. He didn't look back. At first, Raymond kept his promises. He called every Sunday. He told her about lectures, about new friends, about the computer lab that had machines faster than anything he'd ever imagined. Mama Cecil would press the phone to her ear with both hands, laughing at things she didn't fully understand, just happy to hear his voice. He graduated 4 years later with a second-class upper degree. Mama Cecil was not there at the ceremony. She couldn't afford the transport. But when he called to tell her, she cried so hard the neighbors came to check if something was wrong. "It's nothing," she told them, wiping her eyes. "My son has graduated. My suffering was not wasted." Raymond moved to Douala for work. He was sharp, he was fast, and within 2 years, he had landed a well-paying job at a tech company, then a second job as a freelancer, then a third income stream building apps. Money started coming, and at first, he sent some home, 5,000 francs here, 10,000 there, enough for Mama Cecil to pay for rent, buy food, fix the leaking roof. She would call to thank him and he'd say, "It's nothing, Mama, you deserve more. I'm still building." But building takes time, and time does strange things to a man when there's no one watching. Douala swallowed Raymond slowly, the way a city does when a young man arrives hungry for life and has no anchor. He met friends who drove nice cars and talked about levels. He moved out of his small self-contained into a shared flat, then into a 1-bedroom apartment, then into a place with a swimming pool and a gym. He started dating a woman named Christelle, beautiful, sophisticated, and from a wealthy family in Yowande. Then he left Christelle for Nadage, then Nadage for Sandra, then Sandra and Nadage at the same time, if we're being honest. He bought clothes he couldn't pronounce the brand names of. He hosted parties where people he barely knew drank whiskey worth more than what his mother earned in 3 months. The calls home became weekly, then monthly, then occasionally. The money transfers slowed, then stopped entirely. "I've been busy, Mama," he would say, when she managed to reach him. "Work is stressful. I'll send something soon." Soon never came. Back in Nkwem, Mama Cecil waited. She waited by the phone that rarely rang. She waited at the gate every evening out of habit, the way mothers do. She began having headaches that wouldn't go away. The doctor said it was high blood pressure. He gave her medication she couldn't always afford. The neighbors, a woman named Ma Juliet and her husband, began buying her food quietly, pretending they had cooked too much. They paid her hospital bills when she collapsed one afternoon in her kitchen. They never called Raymond to report. They didn't want to cause problems. But the truth is, his mother was surviving on the kindness of strangers while her son was throwing parties in the penthouse. It was Raymond's 30th birthday. He had rented the entire rooftop of a luxury lounge in Bonanjo, fairy lights, a DJ, a caterer from Cameroon Inter, bottles of Hennessy lined up like soldiers, 60 guests, colleagues, girlfriends current and former, social media friends he'd never actually had a real conversation with. He was wearing a white suit and holding a glass of champagne when his childhood friend Bertrand walked in. Bertrand was from Nkwen. He still lived there. He still visited Mama Cecil because that's the kind of person Bertrand was. He had tried to call Raymond 3 times about his mother's health. Raymond had not picked up. Tonight, Bertrand had done something unplanned, something that would change everything. He had brought Mama Cecil with him. She stood at the entrance of the rooftop in her best dress, the blue and white wax print she wore to church on Christmas. Her hair was neatly tied. She was holding a small plastic bag with a birthday cake she had baked herself, using the last money she had. She had been in Douala only twice in her lifetime. She didn't know the city, but Bertrand had told her Raymond was hosting a birthday party, and her face had lit up in a way it hadn't in months. "Maybe I will surprise him," she had whispered. "Maybe he will be happy to see me." When Raymond turned and saw her standing there, his mother, small and aging, in her church dress, holding a homemade cake among his sophisticated friends, something cold ran through him. He didn't feel joy, he felt embarrassment. He crossed the room quickly. He took her by the elbow, gentle but firmly, and guided her toward the stairway, away from the crowd. "Mama, what are you doing here?" he whispered, his jaw tight. "Bertrand brought me. I wanted to." "You can't be here." His voice dropped lower. "Look at this place. These are my colleagues. My people." Mama Cecil looked at him. Then she looked at the room. The beautiful women, the expensive bottles, the strangers laughing loudly. "Your people," she repeated quietly. "I'll call you tomorrow. Just go." He said it the way you tell a hawker to move from your car window. Behind them, Sandra, his current girlfriend, had drifted over, curious. She looked at Mama Cecil up and down with a small, polite, devastating smile. Someone nearby whispered something. A few people laughed. Mama Cecil looked at her son one last time. She placed the cake slowly, carefully, on a side table near the door. Then she turned and walked to the stairwell. Bertrand met her at the bottom of the stairs. When he saw her face, he didn't need to ask what had happened. She didn't cry in front of him. She waited until they were in the car. Then she pressed her face into her hands and wept, quietly, deeply, the way women weep when the wound is too big for a sound. "He didn't want me there," she whispered. "My own son." Bertrand drove her to the bus station in silence. He bought her a ticket home. He didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. What he didn't know was that someone at the party had filmed the whole thing. The video went up the next morning. It was only 40 seconds long. Raymond leading his mother away by the elbow, the look of shame on his face, the cake left on the table. Someone had added a caption. "This man just sent his poor mother away from his birthday party. She baked him a cake. Cameroon. Is this who we are raising?" By noon, it had 10,000 views. By evening, 300,000. By the following week, Raymond Tabby's full name, employer, and neighborhood were in comic sessions across 3 countries. His boss called him into the office. The company had a value statement on their website: family, integrity, community. A screenshot of that statement was being posted side by side with the video. He was placed on administrative suspension pending review. Sandra left him, not because of the video exactly, but the video had cracked something open, and what spilled out was everything she had been ignoring. The selfishness, the shallowness, the way he looked at people who had less than him. She packed her things on a Tuesday and said very little on her way out. The freelance client had begun Googling his name. 2 projects were cancelled. One client sent a 2-line email. We want to work with people whose values align with ours. His landlord, who had heard about the video from his own daughter, became cold and formal where he had once been warm. Raymond sat alone in his expensive apartment one night, surrounded by all the things he had acquired, and felt something he had not felt since childhood. He felt ashamed. Not the social media shame, not the career shame, the deep, private shame that comes when you look in the mirror at 3 in the morning and recognize what you've become. He picked up his phone and called his mother. It rang and rang. Ma Juliet answered. "Raymond," she said, and her voice had something in it he couldn't name. "I'm looking for my mother. Please, is she there?" A pause. "Raymond, your mother has not been well. She collapsed 2 days ago. We had to take her to the hospital." The phone nearly fell from his hand. "Which hospital? I'm coming." He drove through the night, 8 hours from Douala to Bemenda. He stopped once for fuel and didn't eat. His hands were steady on the wheel, but his chest was a closed fist. He arrived at the hospital at 6 in the morning. The ward was quiet. A nurse led him down a corridor that smelled of disinfectant and something older, heavier. Ma Juliet was sitting outside the room on a plastic chair. When she saw him, she stood slowly. "Raymond, where is she? Can I see her?" Ma Juliet looked at him for a long moment, not with anger, but with the peculiar sadness of a woman who has watched something terrible happen in slow motion and couldn't stop it. "She passed," she said softly. "Last night, around midnight." The word "passed" hit him like something physical. The doctor said it was hypertensive heart failure. She had been managing it for almost 2 years. But this last month, after she had come back from Douala, she didn't have to finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Raymond walked past her into the room. His mother lay on the hospital bed with her hands folded across her chest. The way the nurses had arranged her, she looked small, she looked peaceful. She looked the way people look when they have finished carrying something very heavy for a very long time. He sat in the chair beside her bed. He didn't cry immediately. He just looked at her hands, those hands he had held as a child, that had braided his school uniform and stirred his morning porridge and waved goodbye at a bus station. And something inside him came apart immediately. "Mama," just that word. He said it 17 times. People counted. Ma Julia could hear him from outside the door. "Mama, Mama, Mama." He took her hand. It was cold. "I came back," he whispered. "I'm sorry. Mama, please, I came back." She was gone. She had carried him for 30 years, in her womb, on her back, in her prayers. In the sleepless nights she never told him about, she had sold her gold chain, her sleep, her health, her future to give him one, and he had given her back a phone that stopped ringing and a son who was ashamed of where she came from. She died without her son beside her. She died having last seen him turn her away. They buried Mama Cecil on a Saturday. The whole of Nkwen came. People Raymond had never met told him stories about his mother, how she had given someone her last cup of rice during a hard month, how she had sat with a sick neighbor all night, how she had laughed at her own poverty so he couldn't hurt her. He stood at the graveyard in a black suit that cost more than she had spent on herself in the last 5 years. He did not cry at the graveyard. He had run out. In her room afterward, Ma Julia showed him the small things she had kept. A photo of him in his graduation gown, printed and framed, though she had never attended the ceremony. A notebook where she had written his achievements in her careful handwriting. Raymond got a job. Raymond sent money. Raymond is doing well, thank God. The last entry was undated. Haven't heard from Raymond in a long time. I pray he is okay. I pray he remembers who he is. He stood in that room for a very long time. There is a kind of pain that doesn't make you a better person automatically. That's a lie they tell in movies. Sometimes, loss just leaves you standing in a dead woman's room, holding a notebook, understanding too late, too fully, that the greatest things you ever had was not the apartment, not the career, not the beautiful woman who left when the money wobbled. It was a small woman in a faded wrapper who stood at the bus station and adjusted your collar 3 times and called it love. The moral of this story is not simply call your mother. It is deeper than that. It is this. The people who love us without condition are not replaceable. Wealth can be rebuilt, careers recover, reputations mend. But a mother, your mother, she comes only once. Don't wait until her hands are cold to hold them.